Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome ViSalus co-founder and CEO, Ryan Blair.
How you guys doing? Good morning. Everybody ready to rock this house or what? That video was powerful. One of the reasons why I was slow to come out here is the chills just rushed through me. I was backstage with my son, and I was prepping him to come out on stage with me, and right as we were walking up, he got a little bit of stage fright. But he'll get over it. You know, we got a lot of time to work on that. But you know, it's fascinating because when I see the pictures that you just saw, I remember vividly when I was 260 pounds. I had just, you know, lost control over my weight. I quit focusing on it like many of us do. I didn't have a simple solution. I'd want to put more time, effort, and energy into my career than I was going to into working out and into proper nutrition. And by the time I was about 25 years old, I was considered obese by the BMI index, 260 pounds. And as a result of that, you know, I suffered. Now, the experiences that come to mind the most about my journey of obesity was, first it was a self-image issue. You know, I remember putting on clothes, and then I'd just kind of be in the closet, and I'd take them off. And I'd put on a pair of clothes, a shirt, and I'd be like, I can't wear that, and I'd throw it off. And then I'd put on a pair of jeans, and I'd be like, I can't wear that, and I'd throw it off. And having, you know, been without means, clothes are expensive. And so I remember thinking to myself, man, I love these jeans. I can't afford to buy a new pair of jeans or a new shirt or a new sweater all the time. And so I remember the slight costs and self-image issues that came with it. I remember having a lower self-esteem. I remember people making fun of me. People at my office at the time, I was the CEO of Sky Pipeline, they would say, you're chubby. They would say, they'd touch my belly. And I remember the way that felt. You know, I'd smile, make a joke about it. I know many of you know what I'm talking about, and I said, I can't go to the gym every day. Two, one of my big issues with obesity was I have a love for all things that include ranch dressing. I mean, I'll eat pizza with ranch dressing. I'll put ranch dressing on anything and everything, and it's just, and I'm not giving that up. And then my other issue is I also like ice cream. Oh man, I could put down a gallon of ice cream. And then my other issue is I like potato chips, all things potato chips. And there's nothing more gratifying than getting to the end of that bag of potato chips. Especially those chili cheese Fritos. Man, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? You guys know exactly, or whoever invented the idea of putting ranch on potato chips, Doritos ranch potato chips, right? Yep, I know obesity very, very well. You know, it didn't really become impactful to me until one time, when you guys saw some of the pictures last night, when I was about 260 pounds, I wanted to travel because I'd never traveled growing up. You know, I'd never been on a plane. You know, my family had no means. I mean, we were poor. And I was going to Tahiti, and I saved up enough money for a vacation of my dreams. I was going to have one of those cabanas on in the water where you have the glass floor and you look down at the water. I was going to take a trip to a private island that was owned by Marlon Brando called Titi Aurora, if I recall. I was going to go swimming with the whales, diving with the sharks. Like, you know, this kid had never dreamed about taking such a vacation. And, you know, I'd become successful enough to save up for that, but it was, you know, probably a lot of my savings, if not most or all of my savings for me to do this vacation. And I'm so excited. I get the time off, schedule the time off. I remember walking in my garage to grab my suitcase. I bend over to pick it up. Boom, my back goes out. For the next hour, I sat there on the garage floor, realizing that I wasn't going to have that vacation. Crawling about an inch. I mean, I couldn't even bear the shooting pains. My muscles were clenching. My back was spazzing. It took me over an hour to crawl from the garage to get to the phone so that way I could make a call to ask for help. I couldn't. For 2 days, I sat in that bed taking pain medications, just in dire pain, to the point where it would take me about 45 minutes to get from my bed to my bathroom, and then another 45 minutes to get back. And that wasn't just one occasion. It happened once, and then and as it happened that time, I remember saying, there goes my vacation. Something I had planned and dreamed of my whole life that I'd saved up for, and I was like, wow, it's gone. It's not refundable. And then it happened again 6 months later, and this time I was in bed longer, taking more pain medications, having more shooting pains, and the residual effect of it would be I'd walk with bad posture, I'd be in meetings, cramping up, having these shooting pains. And then it happened 3 months later, and then it started happening every month, to the point where I would be literally bedridden for days at a time because of a chronic lower back issue, days at a time. And I remember thinking to myself, I was 24, 23, 24, 25 years old in that time frame, and I was like, what's going to happen by the time I'm 35? Right? If I'm suffering this much pain, this much consequences, how much more of my life is this going to take as I get older? I mean, am I going to be, handicapped by the time I'm 35 or 40 or whatever it is? So I went to the doctor, and what do you think the doctor told me? No, doctor didn't tell me to lose weight. He told me I needed spinal fusion. That's what doctors do. They try to fix the problem once it's broken, not prevent it. And I asked the doctor, I said to him, I said, well, what are my alternatives? I don't want spinal fusion. Doctor's hand could slip. I could become paralyzed. He was walking me through the risks associated with such a procedure. And he said, well, you could do that or you could lose the weight. And to me, I was going to give weight loss a try, right? For the first time, I understood the consequences, personally, individually. I knew about the self-image side of it, but that wasn't enough to get me out of bed. Now all of a sudden I knew about the medical costs and consequences. And the irony of it is that's right around the time when I started getting very focused on my personal health so that I could avoid the consequences of the weight that I was carrying. That was right around the time that Nick Sarnicola, Blake Mellon, brought Dr. Michael Seidman into my life. And I saw that through nutritional science that you could help solve this problem. And I saw that Dr. Seidman, who you'll hear from later today, had spent his life trying to solve these types of problems. And as an entrepreneur, all we are really doing is trying to solve problems. And at that time in my life, I needed to solve my personal health problem. Some of you are going to get a message today, whether it's this one or another one, that's just going to wake you up and make you awaken that it's time to solve a problem. For me, I had to solve the problem of my personal health. And for some of you, you're going to get that same message here today. But this problem is one that is a problem of society. It's not just a problem of us individuals. In fact, I brought some facts for you here today. And the mission here that we're going to roll out is one that myself, Nick, and Blake, if you were here last night, have been thinking about all year round. We ask ourselves what ViSalus stands for. And as you can see, we're just trying to take some weight off the world and leave it better than we found it. And looking at this problem, I asked ourselves inside one of the meetings that we do with our various leaders and employees and the founders, and I said, why isn't there a face to obesity? Why aren't there causes and organizations set up to solve this problem? How come, if it is indeed the third largest reason for death, how come if 1.4 billion people are affected by it, how come there's no face of it? I realized that I was the face of obesity, but I'm no longer the face of obesity. Many of you are the face of obesity, and many of you no longer are, and many of you have been impacted by it. You've seen the consequences of it affecting your family members. Every single one of you has been impacted by it because it affects you greatly as taxpayers. 24 million children are overweight or obese in the United States and Canada. And it's an epidemic that is growing at a catastrophic rate. 2.8 million people die each year. 2.8 million people die each year as a result of obesity-related illnesses. That's 7,671 people per day. Think about that for a second. Today, you woke up. Some of you didn't sleep yet. You woke up at 8 a.m. By the time you go to sleep, 7,671 people will have passed. Now, how come so many people are dying of this disease and no one's facing it head on? Or the solutions that they're providing are, well, I don't think they meet the gravity of the illness. Well, we did some research at ViSalus. We found that $4.2 billion a year is spent by the fast food industry. Advertising. $4.2 billion. Many of you saw how the election and the amount of advertising in the US election and how frequently that was. That was far less than $4.2 billion worth of advertising. And if you recall how you just seemed like you couldn't escape it, well, all of you have been advertised to roughly 10,000 times a year by fast food. And you probably don't realize it. 1.6 billion of that spend is spent directly targeting kids. Imagine $1.6 billion targeting kids, so that way they will adopt poor eating habits. It's fascinating, isn't it? The fast food industry has 144,000 restaurants in the United States, $170 billion industry. Now, how does such an industry create such a problem and not become the face of obesity? How do we go with heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, and all the various obesity and related illnesses? How do we as a society exist with 10,000 advertisements hitting us, and we don't treat this disease just like we treat tobacco or cancer or any of the other catastrophic attacks on humanity? How come? Well, 95% of all advertising in fast food is focused on unhealthy junk, and primarily focused on your children and my children. You know, I found another statistic that was interesting. I want you to remember a number of 175 million. 175 million is the amount of money spent on lobbyists to hide this problem, to cover it up, to pretend that it doesn't exist, to make the face of obesity one that's something that's cute, that's likable, one that our society is okay with. I'm not okay with the $190 billion in direct medical costs 50% of which are out of your taxpayer dollars for those people who can't help themselves. I'm not okay with the $6 billion in workplace absenteeism that makes our society lose its competitive advantage. I'm not okay with the $30 billion in lost productivity that our society has as a result of the illnesses and the consequences. I'm not okay with the $76 billion obesity penalty, meaning if you're obese, you're going to make less wages and have less of an opportunity. I'm not okay with the people that are trying to cover up these facts. I'm certainly not okay with the $1 trillion that obesity will cost our society by the year 2030, just for the children that it impacts alone. $1 trillion. Now, it was entrepreneurial spirit that created this problem. And all entrepreneurship is solving problems. And so it's going to take an entrepreneurial spirit, one of mass force. It's going to take tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of entrepreneurs to solve this problem. It took us a long time to get into this mess. It's going to take us a long time to get out of it. There's only one thing that'll solve this problem, and that is for a group of people that are unlikely to focus, to first take responsibility for themselves, for their own health. As I shared with you in my personal story, that was the first step in my journey. Then to take responsibility for their family. I'll never forget being on the Founders Tour. And a woman came up to me who had lost 170 some odd pounds. And I was just in awe, and I asked her, I said, why did you do it? It was in Longview, Texas. I said, why'd you do it? She says, you know why? You know why I did it? I want to introduce you to my daughter. And her daughter comes up there, and she said, I'll never forget it. She said, well, because I was heavy, she was starting to make some decisions that were getting her picked on in school, getting her bullied. And I realized that I was enabling my daughter to be in this condition that was hurting her self-esteem, hurting her health, hurting her long-term success as a human being. And so I decided that I was going to take weight off from my child, so that way I could be that role model and that leader in the family that she needed and be that example. I thought to myself, wow, if you're not going to do it for yourself, why not do it for the children? Now, you never know where an idea will come from. And that night, I had one of those nights. I'll never forget her story. I had one of those nights where I was just restless, couldn't sleep. And as an entrepreneur, I started thinking about the problem. And I was like, well, there's a lot of kids out there that can't afford to get the right help, the right education, and the right healthy fast food. And I started thinking about how could ViSalus potentially solve the problem? How could us parents solve the problem? We knew our cause was going to be to end the worldwide obesity epidemic. We knew that we were going to direct our budget and our vast resources at solving this. We knew about the stories of the one I just shared with you, of the mother in Longview. We knew of the testimonies. We knew that we're going to be able to solve this problem. We knew it was going to take a lot of time, a lot of entrepreneurial spirit, a lot of us taking initiative for our own health, and responsibility for our own health, and then for our families, and then for our communities, for our churches, for our states, for our countries. But what about those who can't take responsibility for themselves yet? What about for those children? Who's going to help them? For those of us who can't afford to take some weight off, we have that solution. But what about the people who can't afford it? That 50% of the $190 billion that I talked about. The $190 billion in medical expenses, 50% paid for by the government. What about those people? How do we help them? How do we help them? Last night I told you that one of the most amazing parts of my journey as an entrepreneur was that deal that I made when I was 17 years old, and my mom introduced me to a millionaire entrepreneur. And I made this deal. The man upstairs, I said, God, if this is the way for me out of the prison that I've put myself in, I'll spend the rest of my life giving back. I didn't know it at the time. But that commitment that I made, that deal that I made, I knew that I'd have to honor it. And having been so blessed to have risen above my socioeconomic status, having been so blessed to having gone through the costs and consequences and the mental difficulties that obesity has, having been so blessed to having been a kid that went without food, a kid where the only food that we ate was macaroni and cheese, and we ate it every single day, a kid who didn't get the right proteins, didn't get the right fibers, didn't get the right vitamins and nutrients, a kid who suffered in school because of that. I remember the hunger pains vividly. And our charitable endeavors have yielded, in connection and conjunction with, in partnership with our promoters, 2 million meals so far to kids who needed food. Last night I told you that in 2012, myself, Nick, and Blake realized we're on a different mission. One that may take for the rest of our lives to solve. One that we may never actually be alive to see solved. The one we're committed to solving and working toward for the rest of our lives. And last night you heard me say, you know, when my son's asked, why is he proud of his name? Because I was never proud of my name growing up. I was, in fact, ashamed of it. I dream that my son will say, because my daddy, or maybe his son will say, because my daddy's daddy got together with a group of other families back a long, long time ago. And they saw the biggest problem facing humanity. Much like great entrepreneurs who have built great legacies, the Rockefellers, the Fords, the Gettys, they solved the big problem. The biggest problem, in fact, $1 trillion problem. And that problem that they solved, well, you probably don't know of it. You probably have never heard of it because it doesn't exist anymore. See, once upon a time, there was this thing called the worldwide obesity epidemic. And the reason why I'm proud of my family's name is because my family, along with a bunch of others, your families, got together and solved it. That's the legacy that I want to leave behind. And that's the legacy that I want you to leave behind. Now, some of you who are paying keen attention realize that I said last night that I would steer our philanthropic efforts and that we would create a solution never before seen, one that is both giving to those who can't afford to solve the problem while helping those who can. Last night you heard Nick Sarnicola say that we only rolled out the first 50% or so of the new Body by Vi 90-day challenge in January, and that the next, and what I would argue the most important piece of the new Body by Vi 90-day challenge will roll out here today. Last night you heard the stories of myself, Nick and Blake, and our mastermind, our leaders, the founding team members. You heard us say that we do things based on our values at ViSalus, and that we have this attitude that will never stop, no matter what, ups or downs, thick or thin, better or worse, richer or poorer. Yes, I'm married to ViSalus. Last night you heard us talk about how focused we are, single-mindedly focused on solving this obesity epidemic. Single-mindedly focused. We're the only company within our industry that is only thinking about purely solving this problem. Some companies, they have a variety of different interests. They sell beauty, they sell makeup, they sell nutrition, they sell anything and everything they possibly can to anyone and everyone who will buy it. Our only interest is in solving this problem. You'll hear today about our international expansion. You'll hear us say why. Why are we expanding internationally? To solve the worldwide obesity epidemic, to solve this problem. Why are we not going to China? Because they are yet to face this epidemic, but they soon will. And when they're ready for us, we'll probably be there by that time. But until then, we're going to go one country at a time and solve this epidemic one country at a time until those 1.4 billion people no longer suffer from the cost and consequences, until that $1 trillion, until those 7,641 people a day goes down, till the place in time when our children's children can say, much like the children of the polio epidemic can say, it no longer exists. This problem will be solved. You are with the company that is going to solve it. Your family's legacy, if you so choose, will be to have been a part of solving humanity's greatest problem and greatest crisis. That is the crest that'll hang on your family's wall for generations to come. Your legacy, our legacy. But I've left you a question here today. I told you we're going to steer our philanthropic efforts. I told you we're going to help those who can't help themselves. I told you we're going to systematically solve this problem through entrepreneurial spirit and through our value of prosperity. And the person who's going to answer that question for you is not me. He's the individual that I sit in the room with and come up with sometimes just crazy ideas. The very solution you're about to hear about next, the answer to the question that I presented to you, was me sitting in a room with this individual and a few members of our corporate team, and me saying, I have this expression in our office, I say the path is all math, meaning there is some mathematical equation to solve this problem. What is it? If you can pose the question, then you can answer it mathematically. And I learned that having heard about the story of how Einstein solved the theory of relativity, because he just kept asking himself this question. And one night he woke up in his sleep. Now, I'm not trying to compare myself to Albert Einstein, but I did have a sleepless night in Longview, Texas, thinking, how can us parents who can't afford to lose the weight, who know that we need to, on behalf of the children in our society and in our families, how can us parents pitch in and do our duty? My grandmother, who you saw the picture of last night, she's 98 years old, she told me of a time that when we were in World War II, when her husband, whom she just had met and got married, I think it was within 2 months, had been drafted overseas to go fight in the war. She told me at that time America was called to a duty and that people would donate their pots and pans, their aluminum. They would volunteer, that everyone was chipping in our society to do their very part to make sure that we were able to preserve our society, preserve our democracy, and solve the largest crisis that was facing us at that time. She told me of that draft. She told me of the volunteerism. She told me of her commitment. And she'd share with me her scrapbook, how she would track it, the letters that would come once every couple months from her new husband. She told me of that level of commitment. And I was reflecting that night in Longview, Texas, how it's going to take that level of commitment from us to solve this very crisis, that level of volunteerism, that level of focus, that level of commitment. So I went into the office after that night in Longview, Texas on the Founders Tour, and I grabbed my right-hand man, the person who takes some of my crazy ideas and makes them better. And I said, Blake, we have to solve childhood obesity. And it's got to be done by us parents. And it's got to be done within the new Body by Vi 90-day challenge. It's got to be seamless, meaning every time someone takes off weight who can't afford to, we got to help someone who can't afford to. And mathematically, I think that if we're able to do that, if we're able to find the economics, the system, if we're able to channel the spirit of our 75,000 promoters, of our millions of customers, if we're able to harness that entrepreneurial spirit, I think we might be able to solve this problem. As you heard last night, the founders, we each add one component of the various systems that run the company. Nick working in the field systems, Blake working in the marketing and sales systems, and me working more in the strategy and operational systems. I'm going to ask to come out on stage to tell you about the solution that he and his team created based on a question that I posed. And I have to tell you, I think, as I told you when I was in Jamaica and I saw that we could feed kids that are hungry, I have to tell you that this solution, I think, will be the solution, will be the one thing that sets ViSalus apart from the rest of the companies in our competitive field, sets us apart from the fast food industry, sets us on track to solve this very problem. I believe this is the one thing that 3 years from now, you will say, I was in the room to be a part of. I believe this is the one thing that gives you new people in the room a better opportunity than the people who came in the day before you. This is the one thing that if you're brand new and you've just signed up today, you have a better ViSalus opportunity than the person who signed up yesterday. This is that one thing that'll set ViSalus on the global path to end the worldwide obesity epidemic with the spirit of entrepreneurship and a fuel to our fire unlike any one thing we have ever done in the 8 years of our business history. I believe this is that thing that'll make your family's legacy cemented in stone for eternity. And I'm going to invite my partner, Mr. Blake Mellon, onto the stage to present that one thing. Mr. Mellon. Come on. Give it up for Blake, guys.
You guys give it up for our CEO, Ryan Blair. That is a really big problem. Would you guys agree we have a big problem? And if you have a big problem, that means we have to have a really, really big solution. ViSalus, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready to see the solution? Guys, that problem is decades and decades and decades in the making. That problem has people and company and brands fueling it. That problem is a big problem. And to really stand on stage and even start to attempt to talk about a solution, I need to warn you, it's going to take absolute focus. It's going to take absolute intensity. It's going to take absolute passion. It's going to take absolute commitment on every single one of our parts, even to start the idea of a solution. So before I go into the solution, I need to ask you guys, ViSalus, do you think we in this room have what it takes? Do you think we have what it takes? You know, Ryan told the story, and we did sit down, and this has been on myself, Nick, and Ryan's hearts really ever since the start of the challenge in 2009. You heard the story last night, but even more so over the last year or so, when we've seen the power of the ViSalus community and the impact we can really make if it's all harnessed and pointed in a single direction. And we started asking ourselves the question that Ryan posed of how do we go out there and be that solution? And we formulated a 3-step plan, 3 simple steps that if we all follow and commit to, I think it can become the catalyst to change. But I have to warn you guys, it's going to take radical action. And I mean radical action. Are you guys ready to see the 3 steps? Real simple. Step number 1. We actually have to face the problem. You guys, Ryan gave you a lot of statistics. I hope a lot of you guys were writing down, and more so as you were writing down, I hope you were actually hearing, sitting in this room, not just watching Ryan speak, but hearing, listening to the situation we're in today. You know, I was sitting back there just watching him on the screen, writing these down, and were you guys hearing him? Were you hearing him? Yes. Did you guys just hear our CEO up here? Yes. And I'm sitting down there listening and internalizing that. 7 out of 10 people dealing with this issue. First time ever, more people are obese than suffering from malnutrition in the human species. I don't know about you guys, but I remember growing up where my parents would sit out there and say, you got to finish your food at the table. There are people starving on this planet. And now it's almost the opposite. It's almost, remove that Happy Meal. Don't take those fries. It's a different time. I'm sitting in there writing some of the things that Ryan wrote down. $190 billion in cost that's hitting us right now. 190 billion, 50% of which is on us as taxpayers right now in the United States. 190 billion obesity related. Did he say that by the time our kids are that generation, by 2030, did he say that's expected to cost us $1 trillion? Is that what I heard? Did I hear 1 trillion? Did I hear what? $1 trillion. Did I hear him say that 2.8 million people are dying every year? 7,600 or so people a day? Is that what I heard? Do you guys realize that is 2 times the number of people that died in 9/11? 2 times every single day because of this issue? Guys, we have to face the problem. We have to face the problem. We got to create awareness. You should be irked. It should make you feel uncomfortable when Ryan sits out here and lays out those statistics, and then he talks about why we don't see it. You guys, this is the dialogue myself, Nick, and Ryan had, because we look at this and we're like, this is a problem. We all know it's a problem. It affects all of our families. It affects all of our friends. It affects all of our loved ones, yet we don't see it. And then when you dig into all of that and you realize there's 844,000 fast food companies, what did he say with the budget that are spending $4.6 billion advertising to hide the problem? $1.6 billion targeted toward what? Kids. Try the Happy Meal, you get the toy. Eat the burger, we'll give you a crown. Just come in and eat. We got balls and slides for you to run around in. You guys, that's a big problem. That's a big force to fight. It should irk you. It should irk you when you sit out there and go, why doesn't somebody do something about this? Why doesn't our government? Why don't our politicians? Did I hear Ryan say that the food lobbyists are currently spending $175 million a year influencing our politicians? Hello? Well, why don't the schools just start teaching it? This is easy. Why don't you just start putting healthy things in the school system? Start them young. Oh, because our schools are broke. And you got the top 3 soda companies that spend hundreds of millions of dollars supporting our schools so that when the kids go in the cafeteria, they see a Coke machine or a Pepsi machine instead of healthy food. That should irk you. You guys, in order for us to even start to attempt to be the solution, someone's got to step up and face the problem. We got to take these statistics, guys, put them out there, point out the holes, point out why it's not being told. Why is there not a face to obesity? You guys, someone's got to get loud. If there's one thing I know about ViSalus is we know how to get loud when we're passionate about something. Someone's got to get loud. And guys, when I say face the problem, I don't just mean create awareness around statistics. I don't just mean become educated around the issue. I don't just mean be able to point out why the story is not being told. When I say we need to face the problem, it can't be about numbers. It's got to be about people. It's weird to me when I think about obesity and I think of the things that I see, I can't even mentally attach an image to it because nobody out there is putting a face on it. Most people are trying to hide the numbers. Every once in a while you see a report. But guys, in order for us to face the problem, we got to create the awareness about the issue. We got to use the facts, but more importantly, we got to make it about people. To face the problem, we have to put a face on the issue. We have to put a face on obesity. Guys, to face the problem, we got to make it about people, and we got to make it about the stories. We got to put a face on obesity. The problem's about people.
Hi. You may know us as Jerry and Estella, the white team. But our real names are Gerald and Estella Hayes. We were on The Biggest Loser 4 years ago. We were 63 years old at the time, and Stella lost 83 pounds, I lost 177 pounds. Oh, by the way, I also won $100,000. I was the at-home winner that season. But what I'm most proud of is I lost 151 pounds at home. Nobody has done that in the 14 seasons of Biggest Loser.
But we're here to tell you a story. And the story was 2 years before The Biggest Loser. We had a wake-up call regarding obesity with my youngest sister, Carol. Carol was a husky child and became a 400-plus adult for most of her life. The Sunday before her retirement at 55, we went to the ER. She coded and died that night. We didn't get the message regarding obesity.
2 years later, we were on The Biggest Loser at the ranch. In the first 45-minute workout, guess what happened? I passed out. I went down, just like Carol. We realized we needed to change, and we did. We got our lives back. This is our story. Every story you share will change somebody like us. We are the face of obesity.
How you guys doing? Some of you may know me as a choreographer, dancer, performer. I've shared the stage with Michael Jackson, Celine Dion, Diana Ross, Jennifer Lopez. But my name is Chris Judd. You know, I travel the country, including Canada, teaching on a dance convention tour called The Pulse, which is based out of Broadway Dance Center in New York City. And over a year, we teach over 30,000 kids. And what we do is that we mold them into becoming the next generation of performers and dancers and artists. And what I've noticed at these conventions, similar to this, all the food that's offered there is nothing but pizza, hamburgers, hot dogs, and cookies. And that's bad. We have to lead by example, and that's why we're here, right? It's up to us to educate the kids about nutrition and being healthy. And it's our responsibility to take care of them. And it starts with us by leading by example. I'm impressed, and thank you so much for having me. And I'm impressed by all these people on stage. Jerry, Estella, Lakin, Ruby, Eric, Todd, Teresa, and the Hulk. Every story that you say to someone can impact a person just like me to be here to help and be a part of the solution. I just want to say thanks. I'm Chris Judd. I am the face of obesity.
You may know me as the Vitality 2012 Female Champion, but my name is Lakin Ozarzak. All throughout my life, I was overweight and was bullied by classmates and teachers. But one moment stuck out particularly. I was 12 years old in 7th grade, and as most junior high students, I had a crush on this really hot guy in school. And he started talking to me. He wanted to walk me home. So I'm like, okay, cool, just go with it. And the next day, the mean girls at my school came up to me at my locker and were like, oh, I heard you and so were going out. Again, no idea at the time what this meant. But I went along with it. This continued on for a couple more days. He'd walk me home, talk to me at school, and then the next day, those same mean girls came up to me and were like, oh, I heard you and so broke up. I'm like, again, don't know what that means, so I just went along with it. Okay. Well, by the end of that day, I had found out that I was the butt of a really cruel, it was April Fool's Day joke that day. I went home that day. And told my mom, why are they so cruel to me just because I'm different? Why? And she said, just stick yourself in their shoes. And it's something that has stuck with me, that moment. And if it wasn't for experiences like those, like that April Fool's Day joke, I wouldn't be able to be here today on this stage to share my story with you. I managed in 10 months and 21 days to lose 170 and a half pounds. Every time you share a story, it could impact a person like me. I am the face of obesity.
Good morning. Most people know me as Miss America 2011. I became the youngest Miss America in over 70 years when I won the crown at just 17 years old, right out of high school. But my family calls me Teresa. My name is Teresa Scanlon. And most of you may be wondering, what on earth does Miss America have to say about obesity? Why would she even care about this issue? Well, let me tell you that as Miss America 2011, as I traveled the country, I saw how obesity impacts the entire nation. My personal platform is on eating disorders awareness, which, let me tell you, is just the other side of the same coin. Whether you are starving yourself to death or eating yourself to death, we are abusing food in this country, and it's time for that to change. Woo! We have to come together to face the issue and make a difference. Why is this issue important to me? Because my family has experienced the impacts of obesity, the tremendous difficulty. My grandpa suffered from obesity and experienced several heart attacks and strokes because of that. And he passed away when I was 3 years old. I'm the middle of 7 children, and he never had the chance to meet my youngest siblings. My dad lost his father when he was just starting a young family from the effects of obesity. Obesity continues to impact my family. It's a struggle for many of us. So I'm on a mission to change that. 2 of my sisters and my mom are now on the challenge with me, because we're coming together to make a change in our lives because we don't want to lose another family member. That's my story. Every story you share can impact somebody like me. I'm the face of obesity.
What's up, ViSalus maniacs? A few of you may know me as Hulk Hogan, but my real name is Terry Bollea. My story goes like this. As a child and as an adolescent, I was always the fattest kid in my class. I lived near the beach my whole life. Finally, one day, I decided to ride my bike to the beach, and on that day, I got up enough courage, and I finally took my shirt off. Well, instead of nipples, I had dimples. And at the end of the day, with everybody talking about how fat I was, I decided to get on my bike and ride home. So I put my shirt on, and when I went to ride my bike, all the spokes had been kicked out of my bike, so I couldn't ride my bike home. So by the time I got home, I told my dad I forgot to lock my bike up and someone stole it. Well, 2 things happened.
I never got another bicycle, and I never went back to the beach. And every time I hear or someone shares a story like this, it impacts someone like me, because I am the face of obesity.
This is serious time. My name is Eric Rose. I was somewhere between 600-700 pounds, and not anyone you would have ever approached about the challenge because you didn't know I existed. I didn't go outside. I was scared to go in public places. To this day, when I hear people giggling in public places, I assume it's about me. You'll hear, of course I was always a big guy, so no one ever bullied me. But, I'd walk through an aisle at Walmart, and when I'd go into the next aisle, you'd hear people start laughing. People asking me, oh, you're a big guy. Bigger they are, harder they fall. Do you ever trip? And if you do you bounce? It's like, that's funny, but mean. If it wasn't for someone like Hulk who put it on Facebook, I wouldn't have got started. And thank you. And stemming from that, I live in a small town, 4,000 people, and in my story, I've got eight people in the Century Club. I have 2 people closing in on 200 pounds, and it's amazing. And I'm working on my 3. If it wasn't, you got to tell stories like these because you never know who they'll impact. I am the face of obesity, guys.
Hey y'all, some of y'all know me as Ruby from the Ruby Show on Style Network. My friends and myself know me as 700 pounds, 600 pounds, 500 pounds, 400 pounds, and now 300 pounds. My life has, and I never realized, but my life has always been about a number on the freaking scale. I've always been the weight, but nobody saw me. You don't see me. None of y'all saw Ruby at 700 pounds. People see disgust. They see lazy. They see glutton, gross. You don't see us. People laugh at us, make fun of us. But we're real, we're human beings that got stuck in an addiction, and we don't even know how. But we're a walking billboard. When other people have addictions, they can hide it, we can't hide ours. My mission, I love what they're doing. It's incredible because this is the lowest I've ever gotten is 328. And I'm finding out who Ruby is without the weight. She's a human being, and I'm realizing that. And I want y'all to realize that when y'all share a story like mine, that you're going to impact so many people because look at me, and I mean look at me. Because really, I am the face of obesity.
Hi, I'm Lloyd Reynolds. I go by Todd. And being at 600 pounds, homebound, not able to see the outside world, couldn't even fit in a car or drive a car, having to use a wheelchair, a walker, and a cane, learning all over to walk again. Watching the Ruby Show motivated me. ViSalus gave me my life back and even more. I have lost a total of 323 pounds. 15 months. Every story you share could impact a person like me. I am the face at Obesity.
Thank you, guys.
It's not about numbers, it's about people. And it's not about just the people on this stage, it's about every single one of us in the room. Because if every single one of us take on the ownership that we all are the face of obesity, then we will face the problem. ViSalus, are you ready to be the face of obesity? Are you ready to face the problem? Step one, we got to face the problem. The way you face the problem is you share a story. You attach a face to the issue. But after we face the problem, we have to provide a solution. We have to provide a what? How many of you guys, are you listening? Can you hear me? How many of you know with every fabric of your being? How many of you believe? I'm talking full faith, zero doubt, absolute congruence. When you have a conversation with someone about the challenge, about our products, about our company, about our community, you know without a shadow of a doubt, we have a solution to their problem. How many of you believe that? You guys all know you're the leaders of a fastest growing company in the weight loss and fitness industry. You know the growth record. You know the stories. You know, when I was on the Founders Tour bouncing around from city to city, I had someone pull me aside in one of the early events, and they said, Blake, what made you guys roll out the new Body by Vi challenge? You guys, let's be clear. We didn't have to. We were already number what? Already number what? We're already number one. We already had 1.5 million people join the challenge last year. We already crushed every record within this industry. We didn't have to go out there and add 6 new reasons to take on the challenge this year. We didn't have to. The reason we did it is myself, Nick, and Ryan found ourselves in those same conversations last year, and we realized with everything we've done, as much of the people you'll see cross the stage, all the numbers of people joining the challenge, you guys, we have barely yet to even scratch the surface of making a dent on the problem. There is so much more we can and so much more we need to do. Would you agree with me, ViSalus? That's why we rolled out the new Body by Vi challenge. That's why we said we'll throw in a 90-day guarantee, remove any reason for someone not to at least give the challenge a chance. That's why we said we're going to throw in more money, more prizes, more incentives to get people to make that mental jump that they can do this. That's why we said we're going to do everything we can to give every last person every support they need to succeed on their challenge, so we could go out there and say, look, we are that solution. There was one thing that I know a lot of you guys heard in the Founders Tour events. You've heard us ranting about ever since January. It was the one thing when we rolled out the new challenge, there were giant red arrows pointing to that. There was one thing you're probably sick of hearing of by now. There was one thing we said, if we get this right, it will create a movement. What was the one thing with the new challenge you guys have been hearing about for the last 60 days? What is it? What is it? Project 10. We can get the slides up, guys. You guys, Project 10. How many of you have already seen Project 10 start to make an impact within your organizations in cities and states across North America? Guys, it's working. 9,000 people have already submitted their I Want It. 1,600 people have already submitted, then lost it, rocking their t-shirts. Guys, over 1,600 people. I see checks out here. Some of them even carry their checks with them everywhere they go. Guys, Project 10 is the lowest common denominator of the challenge. It's the one thing that everybody, who? Everybody, every customer, every promoter can focus on. It's the one thing that when someone gets started on the challenge, they can focus on losing those first 10 pounds or building that 10 pounds of muscle. Guys, it's the one thing that if we align everybody on, we will start to make an impact. How many of you guys believe that? How many of you believe that? But here's the problem. Even if we continue to do what we're doing with Project 10, even if we go out there and reach everybody across North America and what you'll hear later today into Europe, even if we help every adult out there lose 10 pounds and start moving toward their overall weight loss and fitness goal, even if we accomplish everything we set out to do, here's the scary fact, guys, it still won't solve the problem. It's only half the solution. Because even if we helped every adult on this planet erase the weight issues they're dealing with, get healthy, here's the problem. There's a whole next generation of kids, and there's even more of them that are dealing with this issue. You guys see, we rolled out Project 10 in January to focus everybody on the first part of the solution. But as you heard Ryan out here talk about the statistics, talk about our kids, if our goal, if our mission was really to provide a solution to the obesity epidemic, if that was our goal, if that was the mission, to eradicate obesity on planet Earth, is what I think I heard our CEO said, if that was the mission, guys, then wouldn't we have to find a way to help both generations at the exact same time in parallel? Yes or no? Wouldn't we have to find a way not only to educate and provide a solution to the parents, but at the same time educate and provide a solution to the next generation? Wouldn't we have to do both at the same time if we really wanted to provide a solution? Yes or no? Here's a sad fact. At least in North America, we're not even allowed to market weight loss to kids. We can throw soda machines in schools. We can put toys in Happy Meals. We can spend billions in advertisement, but we can't even market a solution to kids. So what if, hypothetically, what if we came up with a way that we could simultaneously drop weight off the world across every generation? If we can continue to focus on what we're already focusing on, educating and empowering the adults, and at the exact same time reach down and change the next generation of kids coming up. What if we could do both at the exact same time? Would you guys be interested? That was weak. I'm not even going to go into it. Okay. What if every single time someone got on the challenge, lost 10 pounds, in addition to rocking the t-shirt, in addition to winning a possible big check, what if for every single time everybody in this room, everybody in your team, and everybody across the world just loses 10 pounds on our challenge? ViSalus, not you, not them, ViSalus will reach down for every single person that loses it and pay it forward to help a kid dealing with the issue right here in the United States. What if for every I Lost It t-shirt, a bag of shake got sent to a kid dealing with this issue? What if every time someone lost 10 pounds, they knew they were reaching down and helping our next generation? Guys, rolling out for the first time, the second half of Project 10. We like to call it Project 10 Kids. I think you guys are getting it. You guys, how cool is it gonna be that every conversation you'll have from this point forward is you can join the challenge, you can lose it for yourself, you can lose it for the t-shirt, you can lose it for the check, but beyond and above all of that, you can lose it to help the kids of the next generation. How cool is it that every time you see an I Lost It t-shirt, not only is it a badge of honor for that person, but you know that t-shirt represents that we reached down and sent a shake to a kid dealing with this issue. Can you please stand up if you've already lost it on Project 10? Can you please stand up? Can you please stand up? By the way, for all of you guys standing and everybody that's lost it, we're gonna send a shake bag to a kid in need on behalf of all of you that have already done it. Guys, we're going to attack the issue across both generations at the exact same time, and you don't have to do anything different than you're already doing right now. You show people that we have the solution. You show people how to lose 10 pounds or gain 10 pounds. They do it for themselves. They lose. The kids win. That's what Project 10 Kids is all about. You guys like it? You guys will get details after this event, but I want you to know this will be now in addition to the whole Community Challenge program. Not only we as a company are partnering with a variety of medical clinics, philanthropies, charities that are dealing with childhood obesity and weight-related issues, but now you as promoters, as the community, can go partner up with local charities, medical centers, after-school programs. You'll be able to add them to the Community Challenge. Not only will we donate, but anybody can donate. Anybody that does donate will match meal for meal, just like the Community Challenge. And because we're dealing with kids, we're also going to be adding cookies where you can donate cookies and we'll match cookie for cookie on the Community Challenge. Step one, we face the problem. The way we face the problem is we create awareness. We make it about people. And we attach a face to obesity. Step two is we provide a solution. The challenge is the solution. Now, for both generations at the exact same time, last step, and this is the step that we're great at, guys. Last step, step three, is we mobilize a movement around the solution. And if there's one thing I know about ViSalus is we're really good at mobilizing a movement. Are you guys with me? If I can get the slides up on the screens, I want to paint a quick picture for you when I say mobilize a movement. There's over 10,000 people in this room right now. Do you realize if 10,000 people, just between now and Vitality, if all we did is lose 10 pounds ourselves and help 3 people do the same. That seems to be our magic number around here. Help 3 people do the same. If 10,000 people each help 3 people do the same, that would be 40,000 people with their I Lost It t-shirt, which means we're sending a bag of shake to 40,000 kids by Vitality. Guys, just starting with the people in this room. How many of you guys would love to see, come Vitality, kids take this stage, real Project 10 Kids, where you can see faces that we're making an impact on? Are you guys willing to lose it to help them win it? Yes? Guys, that's with us in the room. If you take those 3 and help them refer their 3, which they want to do anyway because they get their product for what? Free. You add the numbers up, now we've reached 100,000 kids. You guys know I like to play with numbers. Let me go big picture here to show you that this is possible. When we say we're providing a solution, this is a possible solution. There's over 12 million or so kids right now just in the United States that are obese. 12 million. Last year, we had nearly 1.5 million people join the challenge. That's 1.5 million people last year. I don't know about you guys, but I plan on having a whole lot more people join the challenge this year than last year. You guys up for that mission? What if all we did this year was double? And I think by the time we leave on Sunday, you're going to see a very clear path on how we can do that. But what do we say this year we double, and that means we have 3 million people join the challenge this year. Do you guys realize if 3 million people who could join the challenge this year, that's possible? Just reach out, pay it forward, and help 3 other people do the exact same thing. Do you guys realize that's 12 million people? That means we could literally send a bag of shake to every single kid in the United States that's dealing with obesity. Just with those numbers right there, it's possible. It's possible. Guys, it's a big issue. Are you willing to face the problem? Are you willing to face the problem? Are you willing to face the problem? Are you willing to provide a solution? Are you willing to provide a solution? How many of you guys are excited about Project 10 Kids? And are you willing and ready to mobilize a movement to end the obesity epidemic? ViSalus, let me hear you if you're ready.